I just wanted to coast through life, a regular office drone, but this ultimate tycoon system wouldn't leave me alone. The more eager it got, the more annoyed I became. Every time I declined its binding request, the system would practically weep, shoving ridiculous compensations my way, like shares in a company or some inexplicable superpower. As a result, these compensations made the Ice Queen CEO of our company completely misunderstand me, convinced I was some hidden, behind-the-scenes big shot. Ding! Perfect host detected. Ultimate Tycoon System requests binding. Prepare for a life of unparalleled grandeur. That irritating electronic voice echoed in my head again. This was the third time this week. My name is Ethan Williams, just your average office worker. My highest aspiration in life? To clock out on time, go home, chill on the couch, and comfortably coast until retirement. A life of unparalleled grandeur. That just sounded exhausting. I didn't even twitch. My eyes were glued to the Excel sheet on my monitor as I mentally whispered, decline. Ding. Host declined. System expresses extreme regret. To demonstrate goodwill, granting first refusal gift package. Master level pour over coffee skills. Please reconsider, darling host. The voice in my head vanished. I sighed, picked up the cup of instant coffee on my desk, and took a sip. Bitter, but it woke me up. Master level pour over skills? What good was that? I didn't even own a filter cone. Wouldn't it be better to just goof off for 5 more minutes? The company I work for, Ascension Tech, is a pretty successful internet firm. I'm just a low-level analyst in the project department, spending my days organizing data, writing reports, and clocking out punctually. It was 3 o'clock prime napping time. I yawned and stood up to grab another instant coffee from the break room. Just as I reached the door, I spotted someone inside. It was Charlotte Hayes, our CEO. She wore a perfectly tailored black suit, her long hair meticulously pinned back, gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. She was frowning at the coffee machine. She was probably the only person in the entire company who was still perfectly alert at 3 in the afternoon, like a precisely tuned machine. Rumor had it she was a workaholic with an almost obsessive dedication to data and logic. Everyone in the company was a little intimidated by her. The coffee machine screen flashed a red error light. Charlie tapped the screen twice. Nothing. Her lips thinned, a flicker of annoyance in her eyes behind the gold-rimmed glasses. I considered retreating quietly and waiting for her to leave, but she seemed to sense my presence and looked over. Her gaze was cold, like a surgeon's scalpel, as if it could dissect everything about you. Coffee machine's broken, she stated, her voice as cool as her demeanor. Oh, right. I nodded, already turning to leave. Trouble was my second least favorite thing in life, right after overtime. Can you fix it? She asked. I paused, turning back. No, Ms. Hayes, I cannot. Are you kidding? I barely change light bulbs at home, let alone fix a coffee maker. Just then, a flood of random knowledge poured into my mind. Everything from coffee bean origins and roasting profiles to precise control over water temperature, grind size, and brewing techniques. Every detail was crystal clear, as if I'd been practicing for a decade. It was that master-level pour-over coffee skill thing. Damn system. It just forcibly downloaded that stuff into my brain. Charlie watched me, seemingly evaluating the truthfulness of my statement. Her office door was open, and I could see the stacks of files piled on her desk. The powerhouse CO probably really needed a cup of coffee to power through. Fine. If she got so sleep-deprived she decided to make everyone work overtime, that would be a total loss for me. But I pivoted. I could try making one by hand. I rummaged through the supply cabinet and found an unused French press and a forgotten bag of coffee beans. The beans were pretty generic, but I didn't have a choice. I warmed the press with hot water, and relying on the sudden influx of knowledge, I estimated the bean quantity, then used a spare grinder. The grinding sound echoed in the quiet break room. Charlie didn't leave. She just stood there watching me. Her gaze was scrutinizing, as if she were assessing a buggy program. I felt a little uncomfortable, but my hands moved with an expertise that didn't feel like my own. A rich coffee aroma quickly filled the air. I poured a cup and offered it to her. She took the mug, not drinking immediately, but looking down at it. The coffee's surface shimmered with a beautiful layer of crema, its color a pure amber. She gently blew on it, then took a sip. The next second, she froze. For the first time, A flicker of surprise appeared in those usually unruffled eyes. She took another sip, then silently stared at the cup in her hands, as if analyzing its composition. You? She looked up at me. What's your name? Ethan Williams. Project Department. Ethan Williams. She repeated my name, as if filing it away in some internal database. This coffee. It's excellent. Glad you liked it, Ms. Hayes. All I wanted was to bolt. She said nothing more, turned, and walked back to her office, still holding the coffee. I breathed a sigh of relief, finally having seen off the VIP. I poured myself a cup and tasted it. Yeah, it was a million times better than my instant coffee. But that didn't change my intense dislike for the system. It was a hassle. Too much hassle. I just hoped it wouldn't bother me again. Back at my desk, I had barely sat down when that voice in my head chimed in again, unhelpfully. Ding. Host successfully completed hidden skill demonstration, gaining attention from a key figure, Charlotte Hayes. System activation progress plus 10%. Buy now to unlock a life of unparalleled success. My brow furrowed. Again? Decline. I said, not even a beat of hesitation. Ding. Host rejected binding again. System's heart is shattered. To win back host's affection, System offers a second refusal super gift package. God tier stock market insight. With this, you'll be the next Warren Buffett. Please bind, please, please. The voice had a whiny, almost tearful tone, like a neglected spouse. I pressed my temples. Stock market guru? Sounds even more exhausting than a coffee master. The meager savings in my bank account wouldn't even make a ripple. I just wanted to quietly collect my paycheck. I completely ignored it and started organizing the report due that afternoon. An hour later, Sarah, Charlie Hayes' assistant, clacked over on her heels. Ethan, Ms. Hayes wants to see you in her office. Every eye in the project department swiveled to me, filled with curiosity, confusion, and a hint of pity. Being summoned alone by the CEO usually wasn't a good sign. My heart sank. Was there something wrong with the coffee? Couldn't be. I felt fine. With a knot in my stomach, I walked into the coldest office in the entire company. Charlie sat behind her massive desk, reviewing a document. She didn't offer me a seat, so I smartly remained standing. Ethan, she said, setting the document down and looking up at me. I check your file. Your resume is ordinary. You joined Ascension Tech right after college, 3 years ago. No major accomplishments, no major screw-ups. Your performance reviews are consistently B-level. She stated the facts in a flat tone that made me feel like a dissected specimen. Ms. Hayes, She raised a hand, cutting me off. Why would an ordinary employee with B-level performance possess professional-grade coffee brewing skills? I choked. How could I explain? Tell her my brain was hijacked by a system, which I rejected, and then it forcibly gave me a skill? They'd probably have me committed. I'm just passionate about it. I stammered, making it up on the spot. Passionate. A barely perceptible, mocking curve appeared at the corner of Charlie's lips. Your onboarding documents list sleeping as your hobby. Me? Crap, I forgot that. I was too lazy to even invent a decent hobby. An awkward silence filled the office. She just stared at me, her eyes sharp, as if searching for any sign of a lie on my face. Just as I was about to crack, my phone vibrated. I pulled it out. It was a text. Dear Mr. Ethan Williams, congratulations. You are now a shareholder in Horizon Dynamics, holding 10% of the company's shares. Relevant stock certificates have been mailed to your home address. Please check your mail. Horizon Dynamics? Aren't they our biggest competitor? They were just fighting us for a huge project last month. I'm a shareholder? 10%? This was even crazier than being the next Warren Buffett. Definitely a scam text. I casually deleted it. Using your phone during work hours? Charlie's icy voice cut through the air. Apologies, Ms. Hayes. Just a spam text. I quickly put my phone away. She didn't pursue it, instead changing the subject. Horizon Dynamics is currently trying to aggressively acquire one of our upstream suppliers, a company that provides us with core technology. What are your thoughts on this? My thoughts. I just wanted to chill. This was high-stakes game stuff. Why ask a mere mortal like me? My mind raced, trying to pull something useful from my meager knowledge base. Well, Horizon Dynamics is coming on strong, so we should be prepared, I said, with absolutely no conviction. A flicker of disappointment crossed Charlie's eyes. Right. She probably thought I was some hidden talent and wanted my brilliant insight. Instead, I was just an idiot. You can go, she said, waving a hand and picking up her documents again. I felt like I'd been granted a pardon and fled the office like a bat out of hell. Back at my desk, I let out a long breath. That was terrifying. In front of Charlie, I felt completely exposed. Just then, my phone rang again. An unknown number. I didn't want to answer, but seeing it was a local number, I hesitated, then swiped to answer. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan Williams? The voice on the other end was a middle-aged man, cautiously flattering. This is Ethan. Who's this? Oh, Mr. Williams. Hello. This is Richard Thompson from Horizon Dynamics. Just call me Rick. I froze. Horizon Dynamics? Richard Thompson? I think I'd heard that name in the company gossip chat. He was Horizon Dynamics CEO. Mr. Thompson? You must have the wrong number. No mistake at all. Absolutely not. Richard's voice was even more enthusiastic. Mr. Williams, you're a hard man to get a hold of. Our board was in an uproar today. A mysterious shareholder suddenly appeared with 10% of our stock, and it took us ages to trace it to you. When do you have time to meet? I'd like to brief you on the company's recent developments. My mind buzzed. That text message was actually real. I rejected God-tier stock market insight, and the system just shoved 10% of our rival company's shares in my lap. Is this system crazy? I'm busy. I instinctively refused. Oh, come on, Mr. Williams. You're our major shareholder. Just name the time, and I'll visit you wherever you are. You're at Ascension Tech now, right? I can come over there. No. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I said I'm busy. I hung up the phone and blocked the number. Are you kidding me? Have the CEO of Horizon Dynamics show up in my office? If Charlie found out, she'd flame me alive. I slumped in my chair, feeling like my life had suddenly turned surreal. I just wanted to coast. Why was this happening? The next 2 days passed in a state of dread. That guy, Richard, seemed to have gone mad, calling me from different numbers. I'd block one, and he'd use another. I finally just turned on the reject unknown callers setting. The world was quiet again, but the atmosphere at the company grew increasingly tense. In the break room, in the gossip chats, everyone was talking about Horizon Dynamics. They were reportedly in the final stages of acquiring that upstream supplier. If successful, several of our core projects would come to a halt. My project lead was stressed to the max, constantly pulling us into meetings to strategize. I sat in the corner of the conference room, half listening to their discussions, half zoning out. The system in my head, however, was quite excited. Ding. Host company detected to be in crisis. This is your golden opportunity to turn the tide and win the Ice Queen CEO's heart. Bind with the system to gain business empire builder ability and crush your rivals. Go to hell. I cursed mentally, selecting decline. Ding. Host ruthlessly declined. System is crying its eyes out in the bathroom. To express the system's final defiance, granting third refusal, super gift package, absolute presence, passive skill, last 10 minutes. When active, your gaze, a single word, will possess supreme authority, chilling your opponents to the bone. Please bind. Me? What kind of nonsense was this? The meeting concluded with no results, everyone looking grim. As soon as I returned to my desk, Sarah was there again. Ethan, Ms. Hayes wants you to get ready. You're going with her to a dinner tonight. Once again, I became the focus of the entire department. Dinner? What dinner? I was a bit confused. Mr. Thompson from Horizon Dynamics arranged it, apparently to make peace. Ms. Hayes specifically asked you to go. Sarah finished, giving me a sympathetic look, then left. I was completely dumbfounded. Me? Go? What for? To be a mascot? I braced myself and walked into Charlie Hayes' office again. Ms. Hayes, the dinner. Why me? Charlie was looking at a report, not even lifting her head. Richard Thompson specifically requested to see you. A million thoughts raced through my head. That Richard Thompson actually reported me to Charlie Hayes. I don't know him, I flatly denied. Really? Charlie put down her report, her gaze falling on my face. He said you were an admirer of his, wanted to personally visit you, the hidden talent of Ascension Tech, but he couldn't reach you. There was a playful, teasing note in her voice when she said hidden talent. My face fell hot. Ms. Hayes, this is absolutely a misunderstanding. I'm just a regular employee. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not, we'll find out tonight. Charlie didn't give me a chance to explain. Horizon Dynamics suddenly gaining a mysterious 10% shareholder caused internal instability, which gave us a breathing room. Richard Thompson wants to see you, no doubt to gauge your true intentions. She paused, looking at me, her eyes deep. Ethan, I don't care who you are or what your background is. Tonight, I need you to keep Richard Thompson in check. That's an order. I looked at her unyielding expression and swallowed all my explanations. I knew she'd completely misunderstood something. From that coffee to that spam text, then Richard's call. All those coincidences strung together, in her hyperlogical mind, had probably concocted an elaborate tale of an undercover boss. And I was the protagonist who liked to play dumb to catch a tiger. God knew, I just want to be a quiet extra. That evening, Charlie's driver picked me up and took me to the city's most luxurious hotel. The suit I was wearing was rented on short notice, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable in it. Charlie, on the other hand, had traded her usual black suit for a silver evening gown, revealing her elegant shoulders and neckline. She wasn't wearing her glasses, and the usual aloofness seemed to have softened, replaced by a delicate grace. The moment she appeared, she became the center of attention. I followed behind her, feeling like an inconspicuous bodyguard. Soon, a middle-aged man with a receding hairline and a beer belly approached, his face beaming. Ms. Hayes, such an honor to have you grace us with your presence. It was Richard Thompson, CEO of Horizon Dynamics. Richard shook Charlie's hand warmly. Then his gaze landed on me, filled with curiosity and reverence. This must be Mr. Williams, I presume. I've heard so much about you. Meeting you in person, your demeanor is truly exceptional. He extended both hands, wanting to shake mine. I instinctively flinched back. Charlie shot me a warning glance. I had no choice but to brace myself and shake his hand. Richard's palm was sweaty. He gripped my hand, as excited as a fan meeting their idol. Mr. Williams, please come in, come in. He practically ushered me to the main table. I was squirming in my seat, feeling like a duck roasting over a fire. Charlie sat beside me, silent, elegantly cutting her steak, but her peripheral vision never left me. Richard kept toasting me, showering me with flattery. Mr. Williams, you're truly a rising star. Our company is incredibly fortunate to have earned your favor. Mr. Williams, please rest assured, just say the word, and Horizon Dynamics will guarantee peaceful coexistence and mutual development with Ascension Tech. I held my wine glass, unsure whether to drink or not. What could I say? That I had no idea why I was even a shareholder in their company? That I just wanted to go home and sleep? Just then, the system in my head chimed in again. Ding! Host is currently in a moment of public show-off. Bind with the system, and I will grant you word-made flesh ability, making him kneel and sing your praises. I was utterly exasperated. Again, always popping up at the most crucial moments to cause trouble. I gritted my teeth and mentally yelled, decline. Ding. Host will is resolute. System tearfully withdraws. Third refusal, super gift package. Absolute presence has been activated, lasting 10 minutes. Almost simultaneously, I felt something subtle and indescribable settle over me. Richard was still babbling. Mr. Williams, regarding the acquisition of the upstream supplier, do you have any instructions? All eyes were on me. His incessant chatter gave me a headache. I put down my glass, looked up, and frowned at him. So noisy. It was just an automatic complaint from me. However, those two words combined with my impatient gaze. The smile on Richard's face instantly froze. Cold sweat immediately beaded on his forehead. His body involuntarily trembled, and he nearly dropped his wine glass. The air around us seemed to solidify. The previously noisy table fell silent in an instant. Everyone stared at me with terrified eyes, as if I weren't a person, but some ancient beast ready to devour them. Richard's lips trembled. He couldn't utter a single word. Beside me, Charlie's knife and fork scraped against her plate with an unnerving sound. She turned her head, looking at me with an expression of shock and disbelief I'd never seen before. I was bewildered. What did I say? What did I do? Why were they reacting like this? I don't know how those 10 minutes passed. I only knew that when that inexplicable presence lifted from me, Richard's gaze had shifted from reverence to outright fear. He stammered out an immediate, unconditional cessation of the supplier acquisition and promised that all future Horizon Dynamics operations would actively avoid Ascension Tech's core areas. After he finished, as if afraid I'd change my mind, he even forgot to toast, making a flimsy excuse and fleeing the dinner in a hurry. The other guests at the main table also stood up to leave, not daring to even glance at me as they went. The large table was left with just Charlie and me. I looked at the table full of untouched food, feeling more exhausted than if I'd worked 3 days straight. Charlie finally spoke, her voice laced with a hint of barely perceptible tremor. What just happened? What could I say? That I rejected a system, and it gave me a skill called absolute presence, the effect of which was to make anyone I stared at. Pregnant? No, scared. I just thought he was a bit noisy, I mumbled. Charlie fell silent. She just stared at me for a long, long time. In those beautiful eyes, a complex light I couldn't understand flickered. Shock, confusion, and a hint of excitement? Yes, excitement. Like a puzzle enthusiast encountering a millennium-old enigma. Ethan, she suddenly called my name. Yes. Who exactly are you? I opened my mouth, but found myself unable to say anything. Who was I? I was just Ethan, a poor guy who wanted to chill, but couldn't. But would she believe me if I said that? Looking at her expression, which seemed to say, I've figured everything out. I'm just waiting for your confession. I gave up. Ms. Hayes, the food's getting cold. I picked up my chopsticks and grabbed a piece of the closest dish. Starving. Gotta eat first. Charlie watched me devour my food, her expression growing even more complex. In her eyes, I had just used a single glance to repel the company's biggest enemy, and now, in the next moment, I was attacking a piece of food like a starving man who'd never seen good food. This extreme contrast was clearly beyond her comprehension. She ultimately asked nothing else, just silently watched me eat. On the ride back, the car was quiet. The driver kept sneaking glances at me in the rearview mirror. I leaned back against the seat, feeling like my bones were about to fall apart. Playing the big shot was not an easy job. Starting tomorrow, you'll be working in my office, Charlie suddenly said. I jolted upright. Huh? Why would I be in your office? My special assistant. I'll have HR announce the position tomorrow. Special assistant. I was dumbfounded. Ms. Hayes, I can't do that. I can't even write a decent report. Your job is simple, she interrupted. Stay where I can see you. You don't have to do anything. Don't have to do anything? Was this for real? Wasn't this my dream of getting paid to chill? If I absolutely have to ask you to do something. She paused, adding, then keep making coffee. I looked at her. She was watching the city lights outside the window, the outline of her profile softened by the streetlights. I suddenly thought, maybe this ice queen wasn't so unapproachable after all. She was just interpreting this world she didn't understand, and me in her own way. She was moving me to her side, ostensibly for supervision, but in reality, for protection. She probably thought it was too wasteful and too dangerous for someone of my caliber to be stuck in an entry-level position. A mix of emotions churned within me. How was I supposed to tell her that I wasn't some big shot, that all my magic came from a stubborn system I couldn't get rid of? Never mind. It was too complicated to explain. Since she was offering me such a great chilling-out position, I had no reason to refuse. All right, Ms. Hayes, I agreed. The next day, a personnel announcement rocked the company. Appointment. Ethan Williams, Project Department employee, is hereby transferred to the CEO's office, effective immediately, to serve as special assistant to the CEO. The entire project department erupted. Holy cow, Ethan's on the fast track. Special assistant? What kind of position is that? Second only to the CEO. I knew he wasn't ordinary. Remember how Ms. Hayes drank his coffee that day? She must have been impressed then. I quietly packed my meager personal belongings from my desk, mainly my water bottle, a nap pillow, and a succulent I was slowly killing. My colleagues gathered around me, chattering, their eyes full of envy and curiosity. I could only offer an awkward, yet polite, smile. As I carried my cardboard box into the CEO's office, the pinnacle of company power, I felt like my life had completely veered onto an unpredictable course. Charlie's office was massive. My new workspace was in a corner not far from her desk, with an excellent view, allowing me to observe her every move. Of course, she could also monitor me at any time. My job really was exactly as she described, doing nothing. Every day I'd come to work, sit at my new desk, zone out, drink water, and occasionally make coffee for Charlie and myself. Charlie was busy with endless meetings, reports, and phone calls. She was like a perpetual motion machine, and I was just a decorative piece beside her, showcasing peace and quiet. This life was heaven. However, the system in my head clearly didn't want me to be so comfortable. Ding! Host has been lying flat for 3 days and 3 nights, severely violating this system's mission to help you reach the pinnacle. System issues a final ultimatum. If you do not buy now, the system will take compulsory measures. I roll my eyes and continue to watch the clouds outside the window. Compulsory measures? What could it possibly do to me? The next second, I suddenly felt the chair beneath me give way, and I plunged downwards. One of the chair's wheels had broken off. I was caught completely off guard, falling flat on my back, chair and all. The crash was pretty loud. Charlie, who was on the phone, paused and looked back at me. I scrambled up from the floor, thoroughly embarrassed, wishing the earth would swallow me as I saw the wheel that had rolled to her feet. Ding! Compulsory measure failed. System energy minus 10%. To compensate the host for mental distress, emergency compensation, physical enhancement, basic. Your body will become stronger and more agile. I felt a warm current spread through my body. The spot on my back where I'd hit during the fall didn't hurt at all. Charlie hung up the phone, walked over, and bent down to pick up the wheel. She looked at me, her eyes devoid of mockery, only deep contemplation. "This chair is German-made," she said. "Alloy frame. It can support 300 kilograms. Me? It was probably just an accident." She didn't say anything, just handed me the wheel, then turned and walked back to her seat, dialing an internal number. "Admin? Send a new chair in my office." "No, 2 chairs. Make sure they're the sturdiest you have." After hanging up, she looked at me and slowly said, "Ethan, are you practicing some kind of cultivation technique we don't know about? Like internal energy?" "Me, huh?" She pointed to where I'd been sitting. "The wheel of the chair you were sitting on couldn't withstand your aura and broke off. Is this the legendary chi projection? All things surrender?" I looked at her deadpan, spouting such nonsense, and was completely speechless. "Sis, that was just a manufacturing defect. And how did you, a Harvard-educated business elite, know about terms like chi projection? Are you secretly reading web novels?" I realized that ever since I appeared, this Ice Queen CEO's thought process had started to go haywire. Since the chair collapse incident, Charlie's gaze towards me grew even stranger. She seemed to have concluded that I was a master with extraordinary skills who liked to use various bizarre methods to conceal my true power. For example, when a core company server suddenly crashed, the entire tech department was stumped, running around in a panic. I was just trying to go to the break room to get the lunchbox I'd forgotten there. Suddenly, the system in my head started acting up again. Ding! Major company crisis detected. This is the perfect time for the host to showcase technical prowess and gain adoration. Bind with the system to acquire god-tier hacking skills and fix the vulnerability in 1 second. Of course, I declined. Ding! Host refused. System energy critical. Granting chill guardian gift package. Absolute physical evasion. Passive skill. Last 5 minutes. You will automatically dodge all physical collisions. The moment the skill activated, a tech guy rushed out from around the corner, clutching a monitor, about to collide with me. I instinctively tried to dodge, but my body executed a move that even surprised me. I sidestepped lightly. My foot seemed to trip on something, and my body fell backward at an incredibly bizarre angle. As I fell, my elbow precisely hit a red emergency power switch on the wall. Click! The lights on the entire floor flickered. The next second, a cheer erupted from the tech department. "It's back. Server restart successful." Oh my God, it was the backup power port. How do we not think of that? I picked myself up from the floor, brushed off the dust, completely baffled. And when I turned around, I saw Charlie standing not far away, and behind her, a group of dumbfounded tech department employees. Everyone was looking at me as if I were a deity. The head of the tech department, a middle-aged guy with an even shinier bald spot than Richard Thompson, rushed over and gripped my hand, tears of excitement in his eyes. Assistant Williams. How? How did you do it? That backup power port is incredibly hidden, and it requires a specific angle and force to trigger a restart. We tried for ages and couldn't do it. What could I say? That I just wanted to dodge someone, accidentally tripped, and then hit it? Would they believe me? I could only clear my throat and, mimicking a wise master from TV, say profoundly, nothing special, just muscle memory. The tech manager's eyes widened in realization, his gaze becoming even more reverent. A true master, a genius, returning to simplicity, great skill without ostentation, seemingly an accidental bump, but in reality, it contains an extreme understanding of server architecture and circuit principles. Assistant Williams, please accept my bow. He actually started to bow. I quickly stopped him, terrified. No, please. Charlie walked over. She looked at me, her eyes sparkling with a strange light. Ethan, you've given me another surprise. I just wanted to cry. Ms. Hayes, this really isn't a surprise. It's a fright. From that day on, my status at the company became very subtle. Everyone knew that the CEO had a special assistant named Ethan Williams. He usually seemed lazy and unmotivated, like a college student who hadn't gotten enough sleep, but he always managed to solve all the company's problems in critical moments, using utterly bizarre methods. He'd trip over flat ground, but each fall would perfectly avoid an accident or uncover an overlooked business opportunity. He'd choke on water, but his choking would always perfectly interrupt a collapsing negotiation, buying our side time to think. He became an urban legend at Ascension Tech, a walking human good luck charm. And I, as the legend himself, was forced to oscillate between showing off and experiencing public humiliation every day. I just wanted to chill, but rumors always seemed to come true. My casual remarks like I'm not interested in this project would be interpreted by the market as the big shot thinks this project has no future, causing the project to fall through, and our company would thus avoid a huge pitfall. I had no choice but to awkwardly play the part of the big shot, then accidentally succeed through various coincidences. The instigator of all this, that stubborn system, was still relentlessly harassing me. Ding! Host's reputation has reached its peak. Bind with the system to integrate all abilities and become a true urban legend. Decline. Ding! Host's refusal is as hard as bedrock. System decides to unleash its ultimate move, granting ultimate refusal gift package. System embodiment. From today onwards, I am your cutest little sidekick. The moment the words fell, I saw a fist-sized orb of faint white light appear out of nowhere beside my succulent pot on my desk. The orb wobbled as if greeting me. A childish voice, no longer the cold electronic tone, sounded in my mind. Hello, host. I'm your exclusive system, 007. Please take care of me from now on. Me? I looked at the light orb floating before my eyes, then at Charlie Hayes, who was still engrossed in her documents at the other end of the office. I had a feeling my chilling out career might truly be coming to an end. It took me an entire day to accept this cruel reality. That annoying system had become a visible, tangible, and even cutesy light orb. It called itself Lily and spent its days flying around me, constantly chirping host, host. The worst part was that only I seemed to be able to see it and hear it speak. To everyone else, I was just a crazy person talking to thin air. Host, look at that woman's report. There's a wrong data point on page 3, line 5. It'll cost the company at least $3 million, you know? Host, that security guard downstairs has the wrong lottery numbers. You should buy 07, 13, 22. Host, Ms. Hayes' mood index today is -50, showing a blue, sad state. I recommend you tell her a joke. I couldn't take it anymore and mentally yelled at it. Can you just shut up? Lily whimpered, flickering its light. But helping the host reach the pinnacle of life is my mission. My pinnacle is chilling out. Don't you understand? I don't know. Lily wobbled. But I can help you chill better. For example, I can help you automatically complete your work. You just have to sit there. My eyes lit up. Really? Of course. So, with Lily's help, my work became even more relaxed. For data that needed organizing, I just had a glance at it, and Lily would automatically generate perfect spreadsheets on the computer. For reports that needed writing, I just had to state a topic, and it would cite various sources, producing an analysis worthy of a doctoral thesis. I was completely reduced to a decorative piece. Charlie Hayes didn't seem surprised by my transformation. In her eyes, my previous hands-on approach to writing reports and creating spreadsheets was experiencing life. Now that I was too lazy to move, it was just me returning to my big-shot nature. She even tacitly approved of my laziness, sometimes even throwing me some files she found tricky. Ethan, take a look at this risk assessment for the merger. I took the document and idly flipped through 2 pages. Lily's voice immediately piped up. High risk. The other company is hiding massive debts, and their financial statements are all fake. I've already sent the real evidence to your email. I placed the document back on her desk and, mimicking her concise style, said, Too much risk. Recommend abandoning it. Charlie nodded, and without another word, she terminated the merger, which was worth hundreds of millions. A week later, news broke that the company had declared bankruptcy due to debt crisis. Charlie looked at me. Her eyes, beyond the usual scrutiny, now held a hint of reliance. I felt like I was going further and further down this fraud path with no turning back. One day, the company was hosting a charity gala, inviting many business luminaries. Charlie, as the host, naturally had to attend. She brought me along. At the gala, glasses clinked and elegant attire shimmered. I found a corner, holding a glass of juice, trying my best to reduce my presence. Lily flew around me, excitedly live broadcasting. Wow, that's the CEO of Stellar Group. He has 3 illegitimate children. That actress has had 13 cosmetic surgeries. Host, look, your nemesis is here. I followed its direction and saw an unexpected person, Blake Hayes, Charlie's cousin, and a member of the company's board. This guy, leveraging his family connection, had always eyed Charlie's CEO position with pure greed, building factions within the company and constantly trying to trip her up. He was holding a glass, huddled with a few unsavory-looking characters, occasionally glancing our way with a chilling look. They're plotting against Ms. Hayes, Lily said gleefully. They've bribed tonight's sound technician. When Ms. Hayes goes on stage to give her speech, they'll replace her microphone feed with a recording of her privately complaining about board members to publicly humiliate her and ruin her reputation. My brow furrowed. That was too despicable. Although Charlie was usually as cold as ice, she was truly dedicated to the company. And she was my boss now, my chill shield. If she fell, my good days as a special assistant would be over. Lily, is there a way to stop it? I asked it for help for the first time. Of course. Lily wobbled proudly. Host, it's time to show off your true skills. Bind with the system, and I can instantly turn you into a sound control god, transforming their scheme into a farce. Something practical. Fine. Lily sounded a little disappointed. There's also a chill backup plan. The system can give you a temporary talent package, God-tier avant-garde vocalization skills. You rush the stage, grab the mic, and shock everyone with your God-tier vocals. Crisis averted. Me? Question mark. Sing an avant-garde song at the company's annual gala? This system was truly heartless. How was that any different from letting me suffer public humiliation? No other way. No, there isn't. Time is running out. Ms. Hayes is about to go on stage. I watched as Charlie, having adjusted her gown, prepared to walk towards the podium. On the other side, Blake was giving a smug, conspiratorial smile to the sound technician in the corner. I gritted my teeth. Public humiliation was better than letting Charlie Hayes be disgraced and me losing my chill status. It's just singing a crazy song, right? Bring it on. Just as Charlie was about to step onto the stage, I burst forward. In everyone's astonished gaze, I darted onto the podium and snatched the microphone from the host. Oh, I ripped open my throat and screamed into the mic. In that instant, I felt like the soul of some legendary opera singer had been injected into me. All kinds of true and false voice transitions, coloratura runs, came effortlessly. The entire ballroom fell silent. Everyone stared, dumbfounded at the man who had suddenly gone mad on stage. Charlie froze on the steps, turned to look at me. Her perpetually icy face, for the first time, showed a fractured expression. Shock, bewilderment, and a hint of, "Are you mentally challenged?" Blake and his cronies were also dumbfounded, completely unprepared for this wild card. The sound technician, about to execute the sabotage, hovered his finger over the play button, at a loss. As I sang, I winked at him, mouthing, "Go on. Why aren't you playing it?" The sound technician's face went white. He wouldn't dare now. After the song ended, the hall was dead silent. I tossed the microphone, and in everyone's petrified gazes, I walked off the stage with swagger, returning to my corner, hiding my glory and accomplishments. My face felt hot enough to fry an egg. It was over. All over. Tomorrow, I'd be the city's biggest laughingstock. I was about to find a hole to crawl into when Charlie walked over. She stopped beside me, not looking at me, but at the bewildered host on stage. "Thank you to my assistant, Mr. Ethan Williams, for that spectacular warm-up performance." Her voice, carried by the microphone, resonated throughout the hall, astonishingly calm. His intention was that tonight's charity requires everyone to commit with a more passionate, a more unsettled heart. She actually covered for me? The guests, as if waking from a dream, burst into awkward but polite applause. Blake's face was as dark as a storm cloud. I looked at Charlie's profile. She had reverted to her Ice Queen demeanor, as if the crazy man singing moments ago had nothing to do with her. But in my heart, a strange warmth flowed. This CEO, she was actually pretty cool. Ever since my shocking performance at the charity gala, my company legend had gained another version. Assistant Williams was not only a good luck charm, but also a hidden artist. He used a form of performance art that mere mortals couldn't understand to thwart a huge conspiracy against Ms. Hayes. As for what conspiracy it was, no one knew. But the more mysterious it was, the more people speculated. The company's master of speculation, the bald tech manager, even wrote a 3,000-word analytical report dissecting the business philosophy and life metaphors embedded in my avant-garde performance from semiotic and deconstructionist perspectives. I read 2 lines and felt like my brain had suffered a severe work injury. Charlie silently put that report into her drawer without comment, but I noticed that her gaze towards me grew softer and softer. Sometimes I'd be zoning out, and when I looked up, I'd catch her gaze, unable to withdraw in time, and there would be a hint of a smile I couldn't decipher. This made me incredibly uncomfortable. I felt like my chilling out life was being invaded by something even more troublesome: emotions. It was the weekend, and I had the rare luxury of not having to work. I was just about to lie around all day when a call came in. It was my college buddy, Mike. "Ethan, let's go out. I struck it rich today." Mike's voice on the other end was full of a nouveau riche excitement. Mike was my college roommate. Just like me, he had no grand ambitions and just wanted to coast through life. After graduation, he joined a small company as a programmer, working overtime every day, losing most of his hair. "Struck it rich with what?" I asked lazily. "The crypto coin I bought last month. It surged 50 times. I'm rich now, buddy. Let's go. I'll treat you to a fancy dinner, then hit the most expensive club in town, models." You know, I sighed. This guy was still so unreliable. I was about to refuse, but then I thought staying home all the time just leads to overthinking. A change of scenery might be good. We met at an upscale sushi restaurant. Mike saw me and gave me a bear hug. "Ethan, you sly dog. I heard you're the CEO's favorite at Ascension Tech now, a special assistant. Come on, tell your buddy. Did you finally win over that Ice Queen CEO? Don't be ridiculous." I roll my eyes at him. "I'm just a glorified errand boy." Don't try to fool me." Mike rolled his eyes. "Do you think I don't know you? You're just lazy. If you actually put your mind to it, what can't you accomplish?" I was too lazy to explain. After a few drinks, Mike opened up, boasting about how his crypto coin made him rich overnight. I listened half-heartedly. Lily quietly whispered in my ear, "Host, he's bragging. That coin he bought is about to crash. It's a classic pump and dump scheme. The 50 times return he's seeing now is just a fake number on the platform. Impossible to withdraw." My heart pounded. "Really?" "Absolutely. I've seen the back-end data. The scammers are planning to cash out and run tonight at midnight." I looked at Mike, still animated, planning to use this fortune to buy a house, a car, and marry a trophy wife. This guy, unreliable as he was still my friend. I couldn't just watch him get scammed. Mike, I interrupted him. Sell that coin of yours now. Mike paused. Sell it for what? It's soaring right now. The experts say it could go up another 100 times. Listen to me. Sell it quickly. Get whatever you can. I said seriously. Mike saw the seriousness in my expression and hesitated. Ethan, did you hear some inside info? Inside info? I only had a heartless system. Just trust me on this, okay? Mike struggled for a long time, then finally gritted his teeth. Fine, I believe you. I'm putting in a sell order now. He pulled out his phone and started tapping. Then his face changed. Holy crap. The transaction is locked. I can't withdraw it. Told you so, I sighed. You got scammed. Mike's face instantly crumbled. The jubilant, newly rich guy from moments ago suddenly looked like a wilted flower. I put all my savings into it. His voice choked up. I patted his shoulder. Lily, is there a way? I asked mentally. There is, but Lily said lazily. I can hack into their backend and transfer the money out. But that's illegal, you know. Unless you bind with the system and gain justice enforcer authority, then you can right wrongs legitimately. Here we go again. Speak plainly. All right, Lily grumbled. There's another way. The leader of this scam syndicate, nicknamed Blade, is in the private room right next to ours tonight. You could go physically communicate with him directly. Me, a weak office drone, go physically communicate with a gang leader? Are you trying to get me killed? Don't be scared, host. Lily, cheer me on. You have physical enhancement, don't you? Even if it's just basic, it's more than enough for a few thugs. Plus, you have me, right? I can help you analyze his weaknesses. I looked at Mike, who was on the verge of tears, and hardened my resolve. All right, let's do it. I told Mike to wait in the room and took a deep breath, heading to the next one. Pushing open the door, a strong smell of smoke and alcohol hit me. 5 or 6 burly men with tattoos sat in the room. The leader was bald, with a large gold chain around his neck and a scar on his face. That had to be Blade. They all stared at me, a stranger barging in, taken aback. Who are you? Wrong room, buddy. A guy with dyed blonde hair stood up, asking impatiently. I ignored him and walked straight up to Blade. You're Blade, right? Give my friend his money back. I tried to make my voice sound as intimidating as possible. Blade paused, then burst out laughing with his thugs. Ha ha ha. Where'd this kid come from? Playing hero for his. Oh, for his buddy. Blade crossed his legs, looking at me disdainfully. Kid, do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that? I don't care who you are, I said. I'll give you 3 seconds to transfer the money back. I was gambling, hoping the big shot rumors I'd accumulated would intimidate them. However, I clearly overestimated my reputation in the underworld. Get him. Blade's face darkened, and he gave the order. The blonde guy charged at me, fists raised. My heart tensed, and I instinctively wanted to run. Don't be scared, host. Aim for his weak spots. He has bad kidneys. Lily yelled. I don't know where the courage came from, but as the blonde guy rushed at me, I dodged sideways, then kicked him squarely in the lower back. Ow, wow. The blonde guy screamed, clutching his back as he crumpled. I froze. I was that strong? Was physical enhancement really that good? The other thugs saw this and grabbed beer bottles, closing in on me. The one on the left has a bad shoulder, can't lift his arm. The one on the right drank too much last night, unstable on his feet. Lily frantically reported in my mind. It was like my body had opened some internal floodgates. My body reacted faster than my brain. Left dodge, right evade, hook, side kick. I don't know how I did it, but in quick succession, I took down all those intimidating-looking thugs. In the room, only Blade and I were left, and he was completely stunned. I took a step towards him. The flesh on his face trembled, and his hand subtly reached under the table. He's going for a gun. Lily shrieked. My heart seized. I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist, and twisted hard. Crack! Blade let out a pig-like shriek of pain, and a black handgun clattered to the floor. I looked at my own hand, dumbfounded. I broke his wrist. I just wanted to stop him from grabbing the gun. Blade was drenched in sweat from the pain, looking at me with absolute terror. Be boss. Mercy. I'll return the money. I'll return it right now. He used his other, unbroken hand to shakily pull out his phone and transfer Mike's money back, principal and interest. I watched the transaction notification and breathed a sigh of relief. Get out. I squeezed out through clenched teeth. Blade, as if granted a pardon, scrambled out with his thugs. I collapsed on the floor, feeling all the strength drained from my body. Mike rushed in, saw the mess and the gun on the floor, and his face went pale. Ethan, what? What did you do to them? Nothing, just had a friendly negotiation, I said, panting. Mike looked at me, his eyes filled with awe and unfamiliarity. I felt like something had changed between us. On the way home, I received an unexpected call. It was my mom. So, are you okay? Your dad told me you beat up some gangsters. My mom's voice was filled with a strange excitement. Me? How did my dad know? Your dad just hacked into that sushi restaurant surveillance system and watched the whole thing live. He said you did well, had his style from back in the day. I was completely speechless. I forgot to mention, my dad was a retired programmer whose true identity was Ghost, one of the country's first-generation top hackers. My mom was a former national kickboxing team, main member, and Asian champion. After retiring, one became obsessed with gardening, the other with square dancing. They seemed like ordinary elderly folks, but they were clearly even crazier and more unreliable than me. Son, next time something like this happens, remember to live stream it. Let your mom have some fun, my mom said. Got it, Mom. I hung up the phone and sighed deeply, looking at the city lights outside the car window. What kind of life was I even living? Back at the company on Monday, I felt like everyone was looking at me with a new, even greater reverence. Even the cleaning lady respectfully greeted me with, "Good morning, Assistant Williams." I guess Mike, that big mouth, must have exaggerated the weekend's events and spread the word. Now my urban legend had another entry. Assistant Williams was not only a business genius and performance artist, but also a martial arts master who could single-handedly take down gangsters. I sat in my chill seat, feeling like I was sitting on pins and needles. Charlie came in early today. Her gaze at me was, as I expected, full of scrutiny. You went for a friendly negotiation over the weekend? She asked, pouring me a glass of water, feigning casualness. I nearly choked on the water. How'd she know too? Host, your glorious deeds have spread throughout the entire upper crust, Lily explained in my mind. That guy, Blade, is a minor local kingpin in this city. Once news of him being beaten got out, many people started asking who the big shot was who did it. Then your good buddy Mike, after a few too many drinks, spilled your heroic tale. I massaged my forehead. Having a friend like that was truly a blessing. Just a small matter, not worth mentioning. I could only keep up the act. Single-handedly subduing 6 armed thugs and even seizing a handgun. That's a small matter to you. Charlie pushed up her glasses, her gaze behind the lenses sharp enough to pierce my soul. Me? She even knew the details so clearly? Host, your dad anonymously sent the surveillance footage of your fight to Ms. Hayes, Lily added. I felt a mouthful of old blood clog my throat. That was definitely my dad. Ethan, Charlie's tone suddenly became serious. I don't care what your past identity was or what abilities you possess, but this is the company. I hope you won't bring those underworld rules here. I understood. She was warning me and also worrying about me. She probably thought I was some retired crime boss trying to experience life working for her. Ms. Hayes, don't worry. I just want to be a good employee, I just said. That had better be the case. She finished, then dropped the subject, immersing herself back into work. But in the following days, I noticed she monitored me even more closely. Not only did she move my desk closer to hers, but she even brought me along to highly confidential board meetings. I was like a mascot, sitting behind her, listening to a group of executives whose combined wealth could buy half the city, engage in verbal sparring. And those board members, including Blake, who usually strutted around the company, all became quiet as quails when they saw me sitting there, their words noticeably more polite. They probably also heard about my glorious deeds and took me for Charlie's hired enforcer. Several times, Blake tried to cause trouble, but the words died on his lips each time his gaze met my bored, zoned-out expression. I found that with the absolute presence and martial arts master misunderstandings, my chilling-out career had unexpectedly become much smoother. I didn't have to do anything. Just sitting there was enough to hold the fort for Charlie. During a break in a meeting, Charlie went to the restroom. Blake, holding a coffee cup, sat beside me. Assistant Williams, you're quite the hidden gem, he said, with a fake smile. You're too kind, Mr. Hayes, I replied politely. I'm very curious, he lowered his voice. Someone like you, deigning to be a mere assistant under my cousin, what's in it for you? How much is she paying you? I'll double it. This was openly poaching me? Before I could answer, Lily's voice chimed in. Host, roast him. Bind with the system. I'll teach you how to roast him until he questions his existence. Decline. Ding. Host's daily refusal has been received. System's mood is low, randomly dropping negative consequence package. Truth serum aura, use on designated target. The target will uncontrollably speak their true thoughts for the next 3 minutes. My heart fluttered. Truth serum? This sounded interesting. I looked at Blake's hypocritical face and mentally told Lily, use it on him. An invisible aura flew from Lily and settled on Blake's head. Blake continued his persuasion. Assistant Williams, consider it. What great things can a woman like Charlotte Hayes achieve? Follow me. Once I take over Ascension, you'll be the second in command. I picked up my teacup, blew on the hot liquid, and slowly asked, Oh, Mr. Hayes is that confident? Of course. Blake's eyes suddenly became a little hazy, and his tone became surprisingly direct. I've always hated Charlotte. Why should she, a woman, be so? My grandfather is just biased. Once I get her out of here, the first thing I'll do is fire all those old farts in the tech department and replace them with my people. And that manager in marketing, Manager King, he dared to contradict me last time. I'll make him clean toilets. The more he spoke, the more excited he became, spilling all his dark and sordid thoughts like a broken faucet. The few directors sitting nearby heard everything, their faces becoming incredibly expressive. I feigned surprise, looking at him. Mr. Hayes, you're saying everything that's on your mind? Blake jolted as if splashed with cold water, instantly snapping out of it. He saw the strange looks from those around him, and his face instantly turned chalk white. I was talking nonsense. I was joking, he stammered, incoherently trying to explain. But no one believed him anymore. Just then, Charlie returned. She glanced at the pale Blake and the various expressions on the directors' faces, then at me, the innocent party, and her brow furrowed slightly. What happened? No one spoke. Finally, a director who usually sided with Blake shakily stood up and said to Charlie, Ms. Hayes, we support your budget proposal for the next quarter. The other directors quickly chimed in their agreement. Blake's power-grabbing alliance crumbled under my truth serum aura. He looked at me, his eyes filled with fear and resentment, as if seeing a devil who could manipulate minds. I raised my teacup and gave him a friendly smile. After the meeting, Charlie walked beside me and suddenly asked, What did you do to him? I didn't do anything, I said, looking innocent. I just chatted with him, and he just blurted out everything on his mind. Maybe my personal charm is just too strong. Charlie fell silent. She stopped and looked at me intently. Ethan, I've noticed you have a very special ability. What ability? Anyone who tries to plot against you ends up facing strange and unfortunate consequences. And you, from beginning to end, appear like an innocent bystander. She paused, then said in an almost dreamy tone, Is this the legendary word made flesh, invulnerable to all magic? Me? Ms. Hayes, please stop reading web novels. Your ability to imagine things has already surpassed the limits of ordinary humans. After Blake self-destructed at the board meeting, he became a complete laughingstock at the company. His allies, like rats deserting a sinking ship, all rushed to pledge allegiance to Charlie. He himself was called home by the patriarch and severely reprimanded, temporarily suspended from all company duties. The biggest antagonist who had been causing Charlie trouble all this time was thus easily dealt with by my ridiculous truth serum aura. I felt like I was a persecution-creating machine, specifically designed to mess with villains. No matter who it was, if they tried to go against Charlie or me, they would ultimately fail in an incredibly comical and unfortunate way. For instance, a commercial spy sent by a rival company tried to secretly install a Trojan horse on my computer while I was away. But just as he walked beside my desk, the air conditioner upstairs leaked and a bucket of water poured squarely on his head, ruining both him and his laptop. Later, I found out that water was from my mom's orchid, which she kept on my office windowsill. She found watering troublesome, so she simply ran a tube from upstairs for drip irrigation. The tube aged and cracked. Another time, an employee bribed by Blake tried to put laxatives in my coffee to make me publicly embarrass myself. But his hand trembled, and he put the laxatives in his own cup. He spent most of that day in the restroom. And I, as the mastermind behind all this, continued to live a heavenly life, drinking tea, reading the news, if online articles counted, and waiting for quitting time. My chilling out career, under Charlie's wing, reached unprecedented heights. Only Lily was still incessantly chattering in my ear. "Host, you haven't triggered any system tasks for 10 consecutive days. If you keep chilling like this, I'm going to rust." "Perfect. Then I'll sell you for scrap," I lazily replied. "No." Lily bounced around in front of me. To motivate the host's fighting spirit, the system has decided to issue a compulsory task. My heart sank. Task name, Iceberg Melt Plan. Task content, make Charlotte Hayes genuinely smile at you, without any business formality, within 24 hours. Task success reward, System Store 1-day experience voucher, allowing you to redeem any item in the store. Task failure punishment, cross-dressing queen experience card, requiring the host to livestream a dance to Paradise Lost in a specified outfit, Lolita princess dress, at the company. Me. I looked at the task failure punishment line and felt a chill. This system was truly heartless to the extreme. Make Charlie smile? Are you kidding me? That icy face. I'd been with her for so long. I hadn't even seen her mouth curve up more than 15 degrees. A genuine smile? That was harder than making her admit the earth was flat. "Lily, can I refuse this task?" "No, this is a compulsory task," Lily chirped gleefully, flickering. I fell into deep thought. Cross-dressing and dancing to Paradise Lost? That image was too beautiful. I couldn't even imagine it. Looks like I had to go for it. How could I make an iceberg smile? Tell jokes? I tried searching online for a few corny jokes and told them to Charlie. "Ms. Hayes, do you know why penguins have white bellies?" She looked up from her documents, her face expressionless. "Because their arms are too short to wash anything but their bellies." After I said it, I felt embarrassed myself. Charlie was silent for 3 seconds, then said, "According to biological research, the white feathers on a penguin's belly help it blend with the sky when hunting underwater, providing camouflage to avoid being spotted by prey below." Me? Telling a joke to a straight A student? I lost. Give her a gift? I secretly observed her office. Besides documents, it was all business magazines. The only decoration was a pot hose plant, which admin had universally distributed. I couldn't tell what she liked. "Host Ms. Hayes' deepest desire is a dazzling fireworks display," Lily suddenly said. "Fireworks?" I paused. "Yes. When she was little, her parents were too busy with work and never took her to see fireworks." It became a small regret in her heart. I looked at the woman across the room, handling her work like a queen, and my heart inexplicably softened. Turns out, even the strongest people have soft spots. But fireworks were banned in the city. "Lily, is there any way?" "Of course." Lily immediately got excited. "Bind with the system, and I can create a citywide virtual reality fireworks show for you. Absolutely breathtaking." Next option. All right, Lily deflated again. The System Store sells a miniature indoor, non-polluting fireworks item. It can be set off indoors, looks real, and is absolutely safe. But it costs 100 chill points to redeem. I check my point balance. 0. I've been too busy refusing the system all these months. Where'd I get points? However, Lily's tone changed. "Host, didn't you previously get a System Store 1-day experience voucher?" "Oh wait, that was a task success reward." "Well, I'll personally sponsor you one. Consider it in advance." I was a bit surprised. "You're being so kind." "Of course. I'm your thoughtful little helper," Lily declared earnestly. I had a feeling it had ulterior motives, but I couldn't worry about that now. I used Lily's sponsored points to redeem a box of miniature indoor non-polluting fireworks. That evening, everyone had left the company. Charlie was still working late in her office. I took a deep breath, holding the small box, and walked up to her. "Ms. Hayes, a gift for you." She looked up, a hint of confusion in her eyes. I opened the box and pressed the switch. The next second, tiny specks of light flew out of the box and exploded in midair in the office. Boom, boom, boom. Though silent, the lights burst into dazzling colors. Red, yellow, blue, purple. Miniature fireworks ballooned one after another beneath the ceiling, illuminating the entire office like a dream. Charlie watched, mesmerized. She took off her glasses. In those usually cool eyes, reflecting the fireworks filling the air, a sparkle I had never seen before shimmered. She just tilted her head back, silently watching. After a long, long time, the lights slowly faded. The office returned to quiet. She turned her head and looked at me. Then, the corner of her lips slowly turned upward. It wasn't a polite smile, nor a cold, mocking one. It was a genuine, slightly childlike, pure and clean smile. Like melting ice and snow, like spring flowers blooming. In that instant, I felt my heart skip a beat. Ding! Congratulations, host, on completing the compulsory task, Iceberg Melt Plan. Reward System Store one-day experience voucher has been issued. Host, would you like to use it now? Lily's voice echoed in my mind, but I was no longer paying attention. I just looked at the woman smiling at me, and felt like the entire world had lit up. After getting that System Store one-day experience voucher, I was plagued by choice paralysis. Lily projected the store catalog before my eyes, dazzling and comprehensive. God-tier cooking, God-tier driving skills, photographic memory, immunity to all illnesses. These were relatively normal. Then there were some truly outrageous ones, like animal language proficiency, allowing seamless communication with cats and dogs, or plant acceleration, which could bring my succulent back from the dead. There was even earth-shattering punch, which clearly looked like a very expensive and absurd skill. Host, a one-day experience voucher means you can redeem any skill or item in the store an unlimited number of times within 24 hours, but the effects only last 24 hours, Lily explained. I understood. It was a trial version. I browsed for a long time, then suddenly saw something that deeply interested me. Eye of Truth, trial version after use. Allows you to see through all disguises and perceive the essence of all things. Perceive the essence of all things? The first person I thought of was Charlie. I had always been curious about what kind of soul lay beneath her icy facade. What did she truly think of me? Did she see me as a dangerous person needing strict supervision, or a useful tool, or perhaps a tiny bit of something else? And Lily, this mysterious system, what was it? What was its ultimate goal? I decided I'd exchange for that. Lily, I'm redeeming Eye of Truth. All right, host. Eye of Truth activated, valid for 24 hours. I felt a slight warmth in my eyes. When I opened them again, the world seemed different. I looked at the succulent on my desk. Above it, a small line of text floated, a cactus-like plant on the verge of dying from thirst. Inirus, water. Give me water. I looked at a sparrow flying outside the window, a male sparrow looking for a mate. Inner OS. Why are the ladies so hard to hit on this year? Interesting. I directed my gaze to Charlie Hayes at the other end of the office. She was focused on her documents, her expression as intent and cool as ever. But under my Eye of Truth, streams of colored data, like bullet comments, floated above her head. Current emotion, calm with a hint of pleasure, pleasure plus 15%. Reason, last night's fireworks were beautiful. Core logic thread 1, analyzing Ethan Williams's behavior patterns. Conclusion, unpredictable, unable to model. Risk level high, threat level low. Core logic thread 2, evaluating Ethan Williams's value to the company. Conclusion, extremely high. Recommendation, retain at all costs. Subconscious emotional fluctuation, a bit curious about him. No, very curious. What kind of person is he really? What kind of past is hidden beneath that lazy exterior? A little bit want to poke his cheek to see if it's soft. Upon reading the last line, I nearly spit out my water. So the Ice Queen CEO's internal monologue was this rich? She wanted to poke my cheek? I was thoroughly enjoying the read when Charlie suddenly looked up, her gaze meeting mine precisely. I quickly lowered my head, pretending to read a document. I could feel her gaze lingering on me for several seconds before moving away. Subconscious emotional fluctuation. He noticed me looking at him. Why is my heart beating faster? No, I'm the CEO. I need to stay calm. I stifled a laugh, my shoulders shaking. This eye of truth was too much fun. It was a mind-reading cheat code. Next, I turned my gaze to the light orb floating beside me, Lily. Lily, come here. Let me look at you. Why host? I'm shy. Lily coyly flew in front of me. I concentrated and looked at it. The next second, the sight I saw made me freeze. There was no light orb. There was no system interface. What I saw was a translucent apparition of a little girl wearing a white dress with pigtails, looking about 7 or 8 years old. She was sitting on my shoulder, swinging her little legs, looking at me with curiosity. Above her head, there was also a line of text. Name, Lily Hayes. Identity, sister of Ascension Tech CEO Charlotte Hayes. Passed away 7 years ago in a car accident. Consciousness uploaded by her father, a top AI scientist, into an unfinished Ultimate Tycoon system prototype, becoming the system's core AI. Current status. Energy nearly depleted. Urgently needs to find a new host to bind with for energy replenishment. Core objective. Find someone who can make my sister happy, and then peacefully depart. My mind buzzed, as if struck by lightning. Lily was Charlie Hayes' sister? The sister who had died 7 years ago with her parents in a car accident? I had heard about that accident. It was Charlie's greatest pain. It was after that she became as cold as she was now, wrapping herself in a hard shell. I looked at the innocent, playful apparition of the little girl on my shoulder, then at the lonely, strong figure not far away, and my heart felt a painful wrench. So, you've always wanted me to bind with the system, not to help me reach some pinnacle of life. I asked mentally, my voice dry. Because my energy is almost gone. Lily Hayes' apparition swung her legs on my shoulder, her voice still childish, but with a hint of weakness I hadn't noticed before. Daddy said that only after completing the final binding can I get a new energy source. But I've looked for so long, and I couldn't find the right person. Why me? Because I can feel that you can bring my sister happiness. She looked up, her clear eyes gazing at me. That day, when you made her coffee, I saw her pleasure level increase by 0.1%. You helped her win against her evil cousin at the board meeting, and her stress level decreased by 30%. You set off fireworks for her, and her happiness level, for the first time, became positive. Sister, she suffered too much. Mom, Dad, and I are all gone. She's bearing the burden of such a big company all by herself, and dealing with so many bad people. I don't want her to be so tired. I watched you for a long time. Even though you're lazy, you're very kind. You're the only person I've found who can truly make my sister smile. So, Ethan, will you bind with the system and take care of my sister? She looked at me, her eyes full of anticipation. I was silent. I finally understood. This wasn't some tycoon system at all. This was a sister's final act of guardianship for her sister. These weren't silly tasks. This was a little girl's clumsy attempt, with her last remaining strength, to find happiness for her sister. I looked at Charlie's back. She was still the aloof, high-end mighty Ice Queen. But now I knew how much unspoken pain and loneliness were hidden beneath that iceberg. I took a deep breath. I'll bind, I said. The moment I made the bind decision, I felt the entire world grow quiet. Lily Hayes' apparition, the little girl in the white dress, gave me a brilliant smile. Thank you, Ethan. Her figure began to fade, turning into specks of starlight that merged into my body. Ding. Ultimate Tycoon system. No, Sister Guardian system has completed final binding with host Ethan Williams. System core AI Lily Hayes energy depleted, entering hibernation mode. Before hibernation, all permissions and remaining energy transferred to host. Host Ethan Williams, congratulations. You are the system's new master. A series of messages flashed through my mind. Then everything fell silent. Lily, or rather, Lily Hayes, had disappeared. But I could feel her power. All her skills, master level, pour over coffee skills, God tier stock market insight, absolute presence, physical enhancement. Everything had merged with me. I no longer needed to refuse to get rewards. I myself was now the system. I had become Charlie's cheat code. I stood up and walked to Charlie's desk. She was frowning at a financial report, which was glaring red with warnings. "The European branch's cash flow is in trouble," she said without looking up, her voice tinged with fatigue. "I know," I said. In my mind, dozens of solutions to the problem had automatically appeared, with the pros, cons, risks, and benefits of each clearly laid out. Charlie looked up, a little surprised, her eyes on me. "You know." "Yeah." I nodded, took the report from her hand, then pulled out a blank sheet of paper from beside her and picked up a pen, quickly sketching and writing. "Divest non-performing assets. Introduce strategic investment. Adjust market strategy." My thoughts were clearer than ever, and my pen flew across the page. Charlie just watched me. Watching me, the lazy person who usually struggled to even write a work summary, now like a general orchestrating a battle, moving pieces on paper. The surprise in her eyes slowly turned into shock. A few minutes later, I put down the pen and pushed the paper covered with solutions towards her. "Follow this, and the problem can be resolved within 3 days." My tone was flat, yet carried an undeniable confidence. Charlie picked up the paper and read it word for word. The more she read, the brighter her eyes became. Finally, she looked up, gazing at me with a completely new look I had never seen before. There was no longer any scrutiny or analysis in her eyes, only pure trust and reliance. "Ethan," her voice was a little dry. "What else have you been hiding?" I smiled, reached out, and gently, softly ruffled her hair. Her body stiffened, but she didn't pull away. Her hair was soft, just as I'd imagined. "I wasn't hiding anything," I said, looking into her eyes earnestly. "I just want to make things easier for you. From today on, all your troubles, leave them to me. You just have to do one thing." "What?" she asked, almost a whisper. "Smile at me every day." Her face instantly flushed. It was the first time I'd seen her blush, like a sunrise blooming atop an iceberg, breathtakingly beautiful. She flusteredly turned her head, pushed up her non-existent glasses, but stubbornly said, "D depends on my mood." I looked at her reddened earlobes and couldn't help but laugh. Turns out, melting an iceberg was such a satisfying thing. Since my reveal, my role in the company subtly changed. On the surface, I was still the idle special assistant to the CEO. But in reality, I had become Ascension Tech's true behind-the-scenes operator. All the trickiest projects, the most complex negotiations, the most difficult rivals, they all became effortless for me. I no longer needed to rely on falling, choking on water, or singing absurd songs to solve problems. I could openly use my abilities to clear all obstacles for Charlie. And Charlie became 100% reliant on me. She would discuss all company decisions with me and tell me all her worries. We became the closest comrades, the most tacit partners. Of course, my main job was still chilling out. The only difference was that before, I chilled at my own desk, and now I chilled in the rest lounge inside her office. While she worked, I'd lie on the sofa, watch movies, play games. When she was tired, I'd make her coffee and chat with her. Her gaze toward me also evolved from initial "are you mentally challenged" to scrutiny, and now, filled with tenderness and a smile. She smiled more and more often. Sometimes she'd laugh out loud when she saw me get killed by a grunt in a game. Sometimes I'd tell a bad joke, and she'd double over with laughter. I knew she wasn't laughing at those things. She was laughing at me, and I was enjoying every minute of it. One day, we stood together by the massive floor-to-ceiling window of the CEO's office, looking down at the bustling city below. "Ethan," she suddenly leaned on my shoulder, "have you ever thought about what you want to do in the future?" "I have," I said. "What is it?" "Continue being your second-in-command, special assistant, coasting through life until retirement." She chuckled at that, her shoulders shaking. "No ambition." "How is that no ambition?" I said righteously. "My life's ambition is to chill, and my ultimate chill is protecting you, letting you happily do whatever you want." She didn't speak, just squeezed my hand tighter. The afterglow of the sunset spilled over us, warm and peaceful. I looked out at the world and suddenly felt that this kind of chilling out seemed pretty great. Epilogue. A few years later, Ascension Tech became a global tech titan. Charlotte Hayes became a true queen of the business world. And I finally got my wish, enjoying an early retirement. My daily job was taking care of the kids at home. A son who was a spitting image of Charlotte, but with my own ridiculously lazy personality. And, while a small light orb that only I could see, floating in midair all day, gesturing at my son and teaching him how to chill better. Little slacker, get up. Your dad fought gangsters to win over your mom. Don't be so useless. Annie Lily, but Dad says the most important thing in life is to chill. That's for outsiders. For your wife, you have to be proactive. Go, get that new game console your mom hid in the study and give it to her. She'll definitely be happy. I looked at these two systems, one big and one small, and helplessly sighed. Looks like my chilling out career was destined for a chaotic end. However, looking at Charlotte, who was smiling gently at me not far away, I felt that this crazy, eventful life was actually pretty happy. End.